Hello, everyone. Welcome to Black Men Speak. I'm your co-host, the J.R. Stewart.
And I'm your co-host, the Tommy D. Duncan III, otherwise known as TD3. It is Wednesday, July the 17th, 2024. And if it's Wednesday night,
It is certainly Black Men Speak. So let's give a shout out to Liquid for providing our theme music. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. So when we upload new videos every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, you'll be notified. And if you're here watching the show live, invite a friend or a family member, co-worker, so you guys will have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week. With that being said, Tom, let's do what we do best, which is bring the most progressive news and information about the Black community to social media. Let's do what we do best.
all right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our birthday babies for this upcoming week. Before we get started, I'd like to give a shout out to cousin Audrey K, who's on the chat line. And for those of you who are watching us and are not there yet, we're definitely going to want your feedback on our show tonight. Of course, we have some hot stories, so make sure you jump on the chat line so we can find out what you think about our stories for this evening. All right, first we have a birthday coming up on tomorrow. Today's the 17th, tomorrow's the 18th. And we have a face you may know if you've watched TV and or a few movies. Miss Anne Marie Johnson, an actress and impressionist, kind of pretty funny lady in certain ways, but very talented young lady. She was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, where she graduated from UCLA with a degree in acting and theater. Best known for her roles in the 80s sitcom What's Happening Now, and the late 80s show In the Heat of the Night, also featuring Carol O'Connor. She was also on the comedy In Living Color during its final season. I think it was 1993-94. And she
Okay.
has had a recurring role more recently in Melrose Place, Girlfriends, and The In Between. So tomorrow, if you have her in your Rolodex, give us a shout, wish her a happy birthday. And next on our birthday list is one of the greats in Major League Baseball, one of the great pictures of our last generation, CC Sabathia, who was an award-winning Major League Baseball pitcher, born Karsten Charles Sabathia Jr. I always wondered what that CC stand for, but he played 19 seasons in Major League Baseball across the Cleveland Indians, Milwaukee Brewers, and New York Yankees franchise. Debuted in Cleveland in 2001, placing second in his rookie year as the American League Rookie of the Year, and after which he played 7.5 years with the Cleveland Indians. He eventually ended up winning the Cy Young Award in 2007 for his pitching excellence, and was traded to the Milwaukee Brewers in 2008, who he helped win, not win, but actually led them to the playoffs for the first time in 26 years prior to that. And then 2008, after that season, he was signed by the New York Yankees, who signed him to a 7-year, $161 million deal, which at that time was the largest contract ever signed by a pitcher. Sabathia led Major League Baseball in wins in 2009 and 2010, winning a World Series and an MVP award in 2009. During his career, he was named to the All-Star team 6 times. And upon retiring in 2019, led all active Major League players in career wins, career innings pitched, and career strikeouts. All that being said, happy birthday, CC, coming
Happy
up on
birthday.
July the 21st. So I think that'll be towards the end of this weekend, going into early next week. Happy birthday. And then last, but definitely not least, for those of you who are music lovers, you will probably know this face, and if not, you'll probably definitely know his music.
Okay.
Born
Who do you have?
Kim Lamont Owens, otherwise known as Kim, who is a singer
Oh, just
and
listen to one of the songs in my car.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Kim. Smooth brother.
yeah, dynamic sultry singer who
Good
wrote,
swing out music.
yeah, he wrote, produced, and financed his very first album, which was self-released, named Chemistry, uh, by literally using his American Express card, singing
Mm.
top 40 tunes in a band and waiting tables to finance the project. Motown Records ended up signing him in 2001, re-releasing that first album in 2003, which sold more than 500,000 copies and going gold, featuring the hit single Love Calls. His second
Love
album,
calls and then I can't stop loving you. One of my favorites. But yeah, Kim and Smooth Brother.
yep. Released his second album in 2005 that went platinum. I Can't Stop Loving You was on the second album. Third album was released in 2010 called Intimacy. In August 2014, released his fourth album called The Promise of Love. And then in 2020, just a few years ago, he released his fifth album named Love Always Win, including the hit singles Lie to Me and Live Out Your Love. So his birthday is coming up on July the 23rd, which I believe is next Tuesday. So early happy birthday wish to you, brother. Keep cranking out the hits and enjoy your birthday with family and friends and whomever you end up hanging out with. And thank you for the tunes and the memories. So those are three birthday babies for today. We've got a couple of other folks on the chat line. Miss Tanya, good evening. How you doing? And Frederick B. Roberts, Esquire, good evening. And thank you for joining us this evening. I'm pretty sure we'll have a couple of folks who will be joining us as well on the chat line. Of course, we want to make sure that we hear from you. We're going to kind of follow up on a couple of stories that we, of course, have been tracking for a while, one of which I talked about last week. Of course, we know that we have been tracking the situation going on in Haiti. And recently, we, of course, revealed that the Kenyan, the country of Kenya, has sent its police force, several hundred, to the country of Haiti to so-called quell the unrest and the violence in that country. But this past week, they added an additional 200 Kenyan police officers who were sent to Haiti under a UN-backed, U.S.-funded mission to address the unrest in the capital city of Port-au-Prince. Of course, this follows the 400 officers that were sent in June. President William Ruto, still facing domestic protests, who is committed to the mission, is expecting 2,500 police and or military personnel in addition, or including those that are coming from Kenyan, a
Okay.
total of 500 from other countries as well. The UN indicates, but does not manage and didn't fund. I'm sorry, the United States is supporting this mission with $300 million to support the deployment of the Kenyan troops, UN backed but not funded. There were some legal hurdles, of course, that we talked about last year that delayed this deployment. And Human Rights Watch and others have raised concern about Kenya's police force historically, considering the excessive force that it uses in their country, in the state, in Kenya itself.
Well, Tom, when you're trying to put down unrest like this, to me, there's no such thing as excessive force. In fact, I'm disappointed that they sent the police force. They should have sent a military force. You know, this is a war, not a police matter. And if you treat it like a police matter, all you're going to do is extend the period of time that you're going to be dealing with gangs, waiting for them to commit a crime, waiting to arrest them, to adjudicate the arrest, and having trials and everything that goes along with our legal system, versus making it a military matter where you can just shoot to kill, stack the bodies up, and that's how you deal with the situation, by getting rid of the bad guys. Going through the legal process to get rid of your bad guys in this situation is going to take a very long time. So I would much prefer that sent the military in with one order, you know, root out all of the gangs, shoot to kill, and it'll be okay. And once they're all gone, yeah, then we can bring the police in to establish order and a sense of justice for the people. But this nonsense about being brutally too brutal or too hard, in this particular case, There's no such thing. Tom, one of the major gang leaders there burned people alive, put tires around them, and set them on fire. How in the world can you be too brutal to a person who's willing to burn someone alive? Especially with a tire that burns for hours and hours. So hopefully this person dies before they endure too much pain. But in the process of dying, they're being burnt alive. And so there's no such thing as being too brutal when you're dealing with people like this who are willing to do this.
Well, you do have some salient points there, Jimmy. I guess the challenge with this is you have to figure out who the criminals are on both sides of the situation. First one asks the question why they would even send troops from the other side of the world to handle an issue that's almost a domestic issue, considering how far Haiti is located from the United States.
Well,
And
Tom, we've been asking for some
wait, wait,
help.
wait, wait, wait. And you also have to consider who is creating the environment and who has created the environment for this so-called gang violence in Haiti that the United States has been intimately involved with since 1915, since the United States initially occupied Haiti, number one. Number two, we're talking about a country that's less than 2 hours away that does not allow the people to elect their own head of state that we call the president. The United States has been involved with who's been running that country for practically, well, matter of fact, over 100 years now. And the last time they had a democratically elected president who was elected by the people, what did the United States end up doing? They ended up removing him. Why? Because he was seeking independence for his country based upon the will of the people, not the will of the Western Empire, so to speak. And so I guess you have to kind of renegotiate who are the real criminals here and what the agenda is here for the United States, considering they have to go on the other side of the world to try to control this because they don't want to get their hands dirty.
Okay, Tom. So we don't see eye to eye on this one.
Of course
The
we
real
don't.
the real criminals are the gangs and the gang leaders who are terrorizing the country. Now, there may be some things that have not have been done that were kosher as far as picking their leadership and America having a hand in running their government, but we have a hand in running a lot of governments around the world.
Yes,
That's
we
the
do.
price you pay for doing business with us and taking our money. And once again, we're the ones putting the money up to fund this effort. When
True.
um, reality is what's really needed is to send in the Marines or the airborne or special forces and just kill all the people that are in the gangs. If you're carrying a weapon and you're going up and down the street killing and shooting people, if we spot you, you're dead. And that's how you deal with the situation. Making this a police matter is just going to take too long to clean up. I mean, look at the problem we have in Chicago, and that's a police matter. And look how that violence continues every weekend, all during the week. People being shot, double digit on the weekends, and having the police step in to make it a police matter has not fixed it. And what's needed in South Chicago and a few other cities in America is the same thing that Haiti needs. Bring in the military and start shooting people that are criminals. And deal with the bodies and the burials during the aftermath after it's been cleaned up.
What I find interesting about this whole thing is that over the last 3 years, and we've covered this since the last president, who was also picked indirectly by the United States, was murdered in 2021, Jovenel Moisey, that somehow the United States could not find any money to help support the police who were trying to root out the gangs in Haiti. But somehow they find $300 million to give to the Kenyans police to try to root out the gangs. But they couldn't even give $10 million to give to the Haitian police who know who the criminals are, who know who the gangs are. Kenyans have they don't even speak their language. They don't know the culture. They don't know the people. It would make too much common sense to actually help support the police who know the boots on the ground, who know who the gangs are, know where to find them, as opposed to sending Kenyans who know nothing about the culture, nothing about the people. And then it begs the question, why are they even there? Are they ready to root? Are they really there to root out the gangs? Are they really there to provide security for the people? Or are they there to protect the interests of those who are actually running the country and who are in power and could care less about the people of Haiti?
I'm not sure who's running the country anymore, Tom, at this particular state. But here's what I do know. I know during the earthquake that wrecked Haiti, over $4 billion was raised and spent there, supposedly, and we have nothing to show for it. So who's to say that throwing more good money down that well, that black hole, is going to produce any results? So at least we have boots on the ground now, with some effort to clean this up. So we need to stop nitpicking, let them do their job, which is eradicate the gang, get them off the street, and get rid of them however you need to.
Well, that money would have been better spent. That money would have been better spent on the people who know who the gangs are, who are the folks
Tom,
who have been there.
Who said the $4 billion wasn't spent with them? And what did we get for it?
I'm not talking about $4 billion. I'm talking about the $300 million they just sent.
I'm talking about the $4 billion, which would lead you not to pour more good money down a black hole if you've already gone down this path before. There's no telling how much money was pumping
Jimmy,
that.
we know that. Jimmy, we know that more than likely went into somebody's pockets. Okay,
it went to a lot of people's pockets, but that's the point. It didn't go where it was intended to go. So why pour more money down that black hole with the hope that somehow this time it's going to work out? This time they're going to fix the problem. No, they have no trust in that government, in the people there, or the police there. So
and the government is the government that the United States
outside force to help police your country shows just how much faith the powers that be have in your police force.
Well, it looks like the United States and the French and the Canadians can't seem to get it right because, quite frankly, they've been the ones who've been in control of who have been the political leaders of the country more so than the people have. So it looks like they can't seem to get it right.
Well, that's probably true too.
So how do you spend all this money when you start talking about putting bad money on top of bad, when you pretty much control the political climate of a country for almost 100 years, don't allow the people to elect their own leaders, and then you throw money on top of that? It's a slap in the face.
Tom, it is. We've gone down this path before. We know what we're dealing with, and there's no amount of money that we can dump into Haiti that's going to fix the problem.
You're right. So I would suggest
the best thing you can do is bring in an outside force to deal with this issue, because obviously trying to shore up a corrupt police force and a corrupt government and corrupt powers that be there hadn't been the answer. And you're right, they've been dealing with this for 100 years. And what do we have to show for it? Nothing. So now it's time to do it a little different. If they got to bring in some mercenaries to deal with the situation, so be it. Hopefully they can clean it up. And if we need to look the other way, hold our nose while the Kenyan police do what they do best, which is hopefully create some order there, then that's what we need to do. We need to stop complaining.
They can't even keep order in their own country. They
cannot
keep order in their own country.
They're going to get it together back home. The president has dropped the tax. They were protesting over raising taxes. He dropped that. He fired some cabinet members. So I don't know what the complaint is now to a bunch of hooligans who just want to complain and go out there and protest. But trust me, I have complete confidence that the Kenyan police will nip that in the bud eventually. They have a way to make people disappear.
We will see how this looks by the end of this year. Then we'll see how this looks by the end of this year. We'll
they have it taken care of by then.
Since you have so much confidence in the Kenyan, I mean, this is the thing. Let the politicians be elected by the people to serve their will so that they can have sovereignty in their own country. Nobody wants to be controlled satellite by another country. And it seems like only the African countries are being satellite policed and politically controlled by other European Western imperialist countries.
Well, I don't see too many other countries. when you lay down with fleas, you gotta expect to get bitten, and then having the blood sucked out of you. So that's the
Well,
price they pay.
gotcha.
So you want to get into bed with Western countries, that's the
Well,
price you pay.
you're right, Jimmy. But in this case, unfortunately, it's not even a matter of choice. They were forced to get into bed because if we look at the history of what happened with Haiti, they fought and earned their own freedom. Unfortunately, the French, supported by the United States, put an economic blockade on them, and after they earned their freedom, they were forced to pay reparations to the country that had enslaved and controlled them for a couple of hundred years. And so as a result, it wasn't like they voluntarily laid down with fleas. The fleas were forced on them.
Well,
And then
Tom, that's the price you pay when
when
you
you when
can't
you earn
defend your
your freedom,
country.
when you earn your freedom, that's the price you pay for
Well,
earning your freedom,
not
unless you're
only you got to earn it, but you also excuse me. Not only do you have to earn it, Tom, you got to fight to keep it. So it's one thing to earn your freedom, but it's a whole nother thing
to keep it.
when you're invaded that you need to fight to keep it. So if you don't fight to keep it, then whatever happens to you, you deserve.
And that
Unfortunately,
is
that's
the
what it
reason
is.
why when we've had this conversation, I've said it ain't just economic, it's military. And if you ain't got no military, whatever you got is gonna be took.
Well, that's true, Tom, but until you rise up and you can defend yourself. It wasn't that
And that's
long
the whole
ago,
point.
about 120, 130, 140 years ago, that the Brits forced China to buy heroin from them and buy
Right.
drugs from them.
Forced.
Yeah, yeah, forced. So until you can raise up an army and defend yourself, um, then that's what happens to you. Things get forced on you. So all I can say is, if the Haitians want to do something, take your gangs, put them into the military, and fight for your freedom, rather than fighting each other and creating chaos on the streets and killing innocent people. So anyway, Tom,
Let's move to the
we
next
are
story. We've
20
got, we've
some
got
after the hour. So
all right.
do we want to do our Black History song or want to go to the next story?
Let's go to the next story, which is out of the state of Illinois. The sister who was unfortunately killed in her own home after she was calling for help. And I believe we
Okay.
do have a video on that, correct?
No, we don't have a video on that one. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm
Um,
sorry. I thought we had a video on that. Well, at any rate, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the story. Jimmy, we had a sister out of Illinois, I think in the Springfield area, who was fatally shot by a law enforcement officer recently after calling authorities because she was scared there was an intruder in or around her home, according to the family attorney. Sonia Massey, who was 36 years old, died after an encounter with deputies from the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office in Springfield, Illinois, a couple of weeks ago. State police said body camera video and other information tied to the case is not being released to protect the integrity of the legal process. In separate releases, state police and sheriff officers have said deputies arrived at their home shortly after 1 a.m. Following a 911 call, the sheriff's office said it was called over a report of a prowler. She was shot during the incident and declared dead. At the local hospital, the sheriff's office said 2 deputies searched the area and that around 1:21 a.m., the deputies reported that shots had been fired, resulting in a female being struck in gunfire in the head. No deputies were injured, the sheriffs indicated. Ben Crump, an attorney for the Massey family, said the statement Thursday that the shooting occurred after Massey called law enforcement because she thought, of course, there was an intruder in her home. Of course, Noose has reached out to the sheriff's office, but no information has been released on that, Jimmy. Again, we talk about a few too many of these, Jimmy, and this is not a good situation.
well, Tom, unfortunately, you are correct. It's not a good situation. And all I can say is we need to be able to learn from these examples, um, that when you call 911 and say an intruder's in your house, you don't realize how dangerous that is because when cops come, they don't know who you are, who the intruder is. They don't know anything. They got to try to make a quick assessment once they get to the property. I would suggest that if you're a woman in that situation, stay on the phone with the 911 operator. Don't hang up. If you can leave the premise, leave the house, go out into the street, wait for law enforcement to come and arrive somewhere where you're visible and they can see you. That'd probably be your best place that you could be, the safest place you could be while they enter the house and make sure there's no one in there. But if there is someone in there, let them deal with that. But if you're in there and the perpetrator is in there, then what you're doing is asking them to make a quick decision about life and death. And sometimes they don't always get it right. They don't make it what they did was right or wrong. I guess that's to be determined by whoever's investigating the case. But unfortunately, it leaves you dead if they make the wrong decision. So my advice in these situations is, like I always say, you get pulled over by the cops, cooperate fully, do exactly as they tell you, take a name and badge number. You can file a complaint after the fact. If you call 911 saying intruders in your house, leave the house. Grab your kids, leave the house, go out into the street, wait for them to come, point to your property, and tell them what you think is happening, and let them go deal with it. And so that way, whatever happens, whoever they encounter inside your house, you're not there to get caught in the crossfire.
Jimmy, this is the problem. It's 1 a.m. when this call is made. She's thinking
it could be 2 a.m., 3 a.m. What difference does it make?
It's 1 a.m. after midnight. You have a woman home. You have a woman home by herself. She's thinking there's a prowler, and she's going to go outside.
Tom, outside the safest place for. You want to be inside with a prowler? You just reported.
No, but the police are coming. She probably feels safer inside than out. If she thinks there's a prowler around,
if she's going to stay inside the house, Tom, then she needs to stay on the phone. I'm not blaming her. I'm just trying to give some useful advice. Stay on the phone with the 911 dispatcher. Let them know, hey, I'm locking myself in the closet. I'm in the master bedroom closet. I'm locking the door. I'll stay on the phone until the officers come. If I need to come unlock the door or whatever, I'm going to find a safe spot. But being inside that house and law enforcement are coming, I don't know what the lighting situation was, if all the lights were on in the house, if it was dark. But you're talking about the wee hours in the morning, and they're coming to a situation that they don't know anything about. They don't know who the perpetrator is and who the victim is. It's not like they have a radar which say, oh, that's a good person right there. Don't shoot. All they know is that there's someone in the house that may be dangerous, and they're trying to get home to their kids and their wife and their family also. So sometimes in these situations, depending on the neighborhood and the house that you're at, if you perceive your life is going to be in extra danger, you may be a little quicker on the trigger. Doesn't make it right. I'm just saying that's reality. So your best bet, leave the house. Go stand out in the street. If the person who's in your house leave, okay, great. But if you think they're still in your house, when the police arrive, at least you're outside where you're safe and in their protection. And whoever's inside your house, let them go in the house and deal with it. I mean, you're not going to get caught in the crossfire out there safe at the street or behind a police car. Or if you are going to stay in the house, go get into a closet. Keep the 911 dispatcher on the phone. Let them know, hey, I'd like for you to stay with me until the cops arrive, just in case something happens. So you can relay to the officer that, hey, the person's coming to the door to unlock the door is the person who made the 911 call, is the victim. So don't shoot me just because I'm going to the door. You're knocking on the door saying police. I come to the door, I open it, and you shoot. So this is common sense things, Tom, that we have to take extra precaution. Like I said, it may not be right, but if you do these things, at least you have a better chance to stay alive. Now she's dead over what? For nothing. Over an accident.
Because somebody got trigger happy. And they shot a woman. They shot a woman in her own home, in her own kitchen. And I can tell you this: most prowlers, maybe there are a few women out there who are prowlers and attacking folks, but most of them have a tendency to be men. And so a woman typically is going to feel safer inside of her house compared to being outside at 1 a.m. in the morning if she thinks there's a prowler lurking around someplace. I get your point, and I can't disagree with you. But if it's a woman thinking naturally,
Tom,
she
you are
is not
presuming you're
outside.
presuming that the lighting is adequate and that they can distinguish from a silhouette in the dark. It's the wee hours of the morning. We don't know what lighting is on in the house, what they can see, what they can make out. Going from a lighted environment to a dark environment, your eyes are dilating. We don't know what the situation is that they found. So we should wait until they do the investigation, release the body cam so we can adequately see kind of what the officer was looking at, and then make a determination whether what happened was reasonable or not. It may just be that this is some figure in the dark and didn't identify quick enough. Maybe the
Sure.
person was scared and ran to. We don't know what the situation is.
Well, one thing we do know, unfortunately, when it comes to folks in our community, is usually shoot first, ask questions later, number one. And number two,
Tom,
it's very curious to me that we've seen a lot of these cases, Jimmy, and typically when the police are in the right, those videos are released real quick. We need to show them that we did right. For some reason, when it comes down to stuff like this, it's already been 2 weeks. Nothing has been revealed. No
the
information.
videos will be released
It
once the investigation concludes. It will be released. And once again, Tom, we need to wait and see what happened before we jump to conclusion because we don't know. It's not a defense of the officer. But here's the thing, Tom.
Killed in her own home, in her own kitchen. That's the conclusion.
Yeah, so it could be in my home or my kitchen. It doesn't matter if the officers are there and they don't know what they're encountering. Here's the other point. Law enforcement officers in America have about 10 million encounters a year. And a very small percentage of those actually end up being fatal. Very small. But encounters with black people, African Americans, as you put it, are 4 times higher than every other group of encounters. So if you are dealing with a black encounter, there's reason for them to be have a little more adrenaline flowing through their system because they are 4 times most likely to be injured or killed with a black encounter than a white encounter or a Hispanic encounter.
And I can guarantee you that African Americans are a heck of a lot more likely to be killed by a law enforcement officer than any other group as well.
Well, that's why you should take my advice, Tom, and do everything you have to do to stay alive. File complaints after the fact. You can always file a complaint after the fact, but do what you have to do to stay alive. Whether it's fair or not, whether it's right or not, that becomes inconsequential if you're in the grave 6 feet down.
True. Let's get to our music. I didn't realize that we didn't have the other videos, folks.
First song.
So with that being
you know the rules. We're looking for the artist of record and the name of the song. Get on your keyboard, get your fingers ready. The first person, and we're not going by the chat line on who types it in first. Every entry, regardless of how fast or slow your connection is, has a timestamp based on your computer or when you enter it. So this is what Tom will be looking at, is the timestamps from the entries. So here we go. Artist of record and the name of the song. Where's our first song? Okay. Go. That's not it, Tom. That's a background. Where is our video? Here it is.
I don't know.
I changed the picture up, so that's my fault. Let's get rid of this background.
So mean, you're the meanest old woman that I've ever seen. I guess if you said so, I'd have to pack my things and go.
I want to go away.
Interesting.
So mean, you're the meanest old woman that I've ever seen. I guess if you said so, I'd have to pack my things and go.
That's right, hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
Now, baby, listen, baby, don't you treat me this way, 'cause I'll be back on my feet someday.
Don't care if you do, cause it's understood. You ain't got no money, you just ain't no good.
Well, I guess if you say so, I'll have to pack my things and go.
That's right, hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
What you say?
Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
Oh, woman.
Pretty funny, Jimmy.
All right, that was a little
You
choppy,
missed
but I hope
the name
y'all
of
got
that
the gist
song.
of it. Huh?
You missed the name of
What'd
that
you say?
song. We got to have a conversation. Everybody out there, okay?
Well, we're gonna take away your black card if
All
you
right.
do.
We're gonna take your CNI card if you didn't get that one. Of course, that was well. To answer the first question, Marion Square actually got 2 points. She was the first to get the artist of record, Ray Charles, and of course, the name of the song, "Hit the Road, Jack." So, congratulations, Marion is on the board.
Mary, I was thinking, has she gotten any points in the past?
I believe
That
she
name
did
sounds.
get some points a couple of weeks ago. She did
Did
get
she?
some
Okay.
points a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, so she's trying to get up there in the race. At least she is on the board right now. So, all right, Jimmy, let's
Well,
get
keep
to our
hanging
next
there.
story.
So, what's our next story, Tom?
Next story, Jimmy, is incident that happened in Southeast Texas, not too far from Houston, Texas. I guess what we'll call a racially charged incident where a man is being accused of intimidating and or harassing his neighbors. Now, community activists are demanding that action be taken by local officials. Kat Dukaman, I hope I didn't murder that name too long, said her neighbor has been harassing her family for over a year and a half now. She said he sent dogs to intimidate her sons, blasted commercial grade lights at her home at nighttime, recently used a noose, not one, but 2 nooses to threaten her sons. She indicated that he hung a noose right after she called the police about the dogs being used to basically attack her children. Actually, 2 nooses. And the guy said, "This noose is for your little boy." All that being said, the mother
We
is
do have
speaking out.
video on this one, Tom. So let's play the video, and then we're gonna get into the story.
All right, let's play the
This should be
video,
an
Jimmy.
interesting discussion because you and I see totally different on this particular
Oh,
story.
absolutely,
Straight
absolutely.
off.
We want to hear. We want to hear it.
Not 1, 2 nooses in the tree, and told this family, "This is for your."
A Manville man accused of using racially charged tactics to intimidate his neighbor, and now community activists are demanding action from officials. Fox 26's Jade Fleury is joining us live in Manville here this afternoon with some details on exactly what's happening down there. Jade.
Kat Dukaman tells us that her neighbor has been harassing her and her family for over a year and a half now. She says that he sent his dogs to intimidate her sons, blasted commercial grade lights at her house throughout the night, and in the most recent incident, she says he even used a noose to threaten her son.
Nobody should have to deal with this. My kids should not have to deal with this. They should not have to be raised next to this.
A Manville mother is speaking out after she says her family has been targeted by a neighbor with racially charged behavior.
He hung the noose up right after I called the police about the dog this last time.
And then he put 2 nooses, not 1, 2 nooses in the tree, and told this family, "This is for your little boy."
Dukaman, who has 2 black sons, says when she called Manville police about the nooses, they claimed there was nothing they could do because it was a freedom of speech.
What kind of man uses racial hate and bigotry to harass a small child?
Despite pleas of help from the mother, her calls haven't gotten any response from officials.
If something was to happen to him, because I don't want it to get to that point. And that's what I've been trying to do this whole time, was be proactive.
No one within the city's administration, including law enforcement, has done anything whatsoever to help and assist this family for over a year.
Fox 26 did try to approach the man to get his side of the story, but we were told to back off. We're blurring his face because he has not been charged with a crime.
We deserve better as a people, as a nation.
Yes.
And this mother deserves better with her family who live on this block.
The activists are calling for the district attorney's office to get involved in the incident. We did reach out to Manville PD about the incident, but they have not gotten back to us. Reporting from Manville, Jade Fleury, Fox 26 News.
All right. And hopefully, folks,
Okay.
you saw that.
Interesting
It seemed
story.
like and it looks like the caching may have been a little bit challenged there, but hopefully everybody was able to get the gist and hear what was being said.
So,
All that being said,
where we
go
left
ahead,
off
Jimmy.
our discussion, Tom, what is it the government is supposed to do that this lady and her lawyer expect the local PD, the district attorney, and the city government to do over a person on their property who hang a noose, who shines a light, which are well within their right to do? I have a neighbor across the street from me whose truck got broken into, so they put up a really big light and a security camera. And this thing is radar activated, and every time a car passes their house, that thing kicks in, and the light shines on my house across the street. Do I have a right to complain because their light is shining on my house? They have every right to put a light up on their side. He has every right to put a noose up in his tree. The dog thing, unless the dogs attack someone and bite them, he have every right to sick his dogs, long as they stay within his property and don't harm anybody, to keep defenders out or keep people off his property. If there was a crime that had been committed, I would think the police would have filed charges, the district attorney would have filed charges, or someone would have taken some corrective action. But if they recognize that this man is just exercising his right to speak, express himself, then there's no crime against that. What say you?
What I would say is that maybe he has a First Amendment right to be a public nuisance. And, maybe he is an idiot and, deliberately doing this and harassing this family for a year and a half. It doesn't really matter whether they like each other or not. It's not a big deal. But with him sicking his dogs after little children, trying to intimidate little children, and being a public nuisance. And last time I checked, and maybe Manville doesn't have public nuisance laws, but I know some cities do.
They have them.
And the reality is,
he has them.
For him to say that these nooses, which are the indications of lynchings, are for your little boys and traumatizing these little boys, for them to say, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to even go talk to the man and ask him if they could just maintain the peace in the neighborhood. Something just kind of stinks about that, Jimmy. And what I'm hoping you're not saying is the kids have to be mauled in the hospital and or lynched in order for anybody to do anything about it. We got to wait for them literally to be harmed in the hospital or dead for anybody to even have a conversation with them.
What I'm saying, Tom, is the price to a free society is that you have to put up with certain things. Like, for example, I don't like men who walk around with their pants hanging off their ass and underwear showing and walk around that way. That offends my sense of sensibility. But I can't expect the government to step in and intervene and do anything over a person's right to wear their clothes how they see fit. I may not like it. There are a lot of things I don't like.
They're not doing that deliberately against you. They're not doing anything to you or your family.
His motives do not matter. His motives don't matter in this case. He could be doing it to offend her, to aggravate her. He could be doing it to intimidate her boys, maybe to keep them off his property. We don't know what his motives are, but whatever his motives are, whatever he's doing, so far the local government there has determined that he has a right to do it. So no crimes have been broken. So until a crime is committed, there's nothing to adjudicate. There's nothing to do until a crime has been committed. And asking your local government to deal with things that offend you, everyone's going to be locked up if that's the case. I don't like your clothes.
You're not going to be locked up if you're not trying to hurt people, if you're not trying to harass people. You're just living life, taking care of your family, doing whatever it is and minding your own business. But when you start trying to intimidate, harass, and or hurt other people, that's a problem. And if someone's sending their dogs after somebody, those children could have got hurt. And so if those dogs, which people nowadays care more about their damn dogs than they do human beings, if their dogs would have went after their children, they would have got a shotgun and shot those dogs, then we talking about something different. But
if you shoot
somebody has the right to protect their children. And so if that lady had a gun and she's protecting her children, shot the
children were in danger, I would think that when you call the police out to investigate, they would have made that determination and did something. But obviously they didn't believe that she was in danger or her children were in danger because no charges were filed. Period. You are wrong because there are people who have sat down to eat, minding their own business, wearing an I Love Trump hat or a MAGA shirt at a very liberal area, a restaurant in a very liberal area, only to be attacked by people who say they're offended by you wearing that shirt or you wearing that hat. So sometimes you be minding your own business and people think they have a right not to be offended.
This guy was not minding his own business. He was harassing.
He's on his property, Tom. He can do what he want to do.
No, he can't.
Yes, he can, Tom. He has a right to do without breaking the law, which obviously that's been determined that he has not broken the law. The district attorney, this has been reported to the district attorney, a year and a half. This has been reported to city leadership. So not only did the local law enforcement determine that no crime has been committed, but this has been reported to the district attorney's office, and they've determined no crime has been committed because they haven't taken anything to a grand jury or issued a bill of indictment to have him arrested. So until a crime has been committed, you can't expect the government to do something when people offend you because you don't like them putting a noose up in their yard. Like I told you earlier, my neighbors can put a noose up all they want in their yard. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. That noose symbolizes nothing.
You're a grown man, Jimmy. These are little children.
Okay, then teach your children not to be sensitive babies about everything. Sometimes
teach babies not to be babies.
That's right. Teach them to not be victims and over every little thing that offends you. Sometimes you just got to smile, laugh it off, feel sorry for this ignorant person if that's the case. Just say, hey, son, daughter, and she had 2 boys. So I was just explaining to my son, hey, this is a very ignorant man. Stay out of his yard. Don't speak to him. Don't interact with him. And whatever he does, don't let it bother you. Just smile and keep moving. That's how you deal with it. You don't give people power over you. Oh, I'm a victim and I'm so offended and I'm so scared. I'm this and I'm that. If you all of that, move. I mean, really, if I thought my young children were in danger,
just as much as it is.
Yeah, okay. So, but regardless of that, if I was living somewhere where I truly thought my children were in danger, I would be doing everything possible to leave that area. There's nothing in that neighborhood that would be that important that I need to stay there and continue to endanger the lives of my children. That don't make any sense to me. She didn't say anything about leaving or plan on leaving or trying to leave. All she said was she expects local government, the district attorney, and the police
have the right to be able to live in peace.
Okay, and he has a right too, Tom. So whose right is going to trump the other? Which right is going to trump the other? She has a right, he has a right.
The person who is minding their own business, not the person who's harassing somebody and their children.
Tom, what you call harassment, he calls freedom of speech.
It's his inalienable right to harass and make other people.
And somebody walking around me with their pants hanging off their ass.
So if his dogs come up missing, then he shouldn't complain.
Yes, because that's his property.
Okay.
Just like me in the pants, Tom.
One day his dogs end up missing.
If I see somebody walking around or a group of young boys walking around with their pants hanging off their ass, you should have the right to call the police and say, hey, I feel threatened. I don't feel safe around these boys because this is what criminals look like.
Apples and oranges. They're
apples and oranges.
They're not doing
it comes down to protection. She perceives a threat.
They're not coming in your face, Jimmy. They're not.
So if I perceive a threat, my perceived threat is less than a perceived threat.
They're not doing anything that's threatening to harm you, Jimmy. They're not threatening to harm you.
He haven't harmed her. There's been no evidence of harm. See, you
But,
assuming that.
but
He
no,
hasn't
I'm not
done
assuming
anything to
anything.
harm her either.
If they're literally attacking his dogs against little children, that's a threat, and that is harm.
If her boys were attacked by dogs, then she can file a complaint for assault. And actually, since Carol, thank you for your opinion, but since no charges have been filed, no one's determined that her kids have been attacked. She's saying that.
I tell you what, that's fine. We can agree to disagree with this on this, but I'm siding on the kids. I would not want my kids traumatized by someone sending their dogs after my little kids. That's all.
I would hope you would teach your kids not to be victims.
Well, you know what? I'm teaching my kids, common sense and to stay alive. And the reality of it is, nobody has a right to traumatize my kids or any kids that are around my house for any reason. Okay, if they're in my house, they should not have to be threatened just to be in the house.
Yeah, like you're gonna keep them in a protective bubble. That's life. Everywhere you go,
I get it, and I will teach them how to deal with them.
There will be things that offend you.
All that being said, Jimmy, we're
hear things. Life is going to offend you. And so when it does, all you can do is deal with it, because just like someone offended you and your sense of sensibility, you have done something to offend them or someone else.
If they're wearing something that I don't like, okay, that's cool. But if you're coming and trying to harass me or threaten me, that's another thing.
That's her opinion, and her local government is determined. No, it's not a fact, Tom. Because harassment last I checked,
I may not like what you're wearing.
There are laws, Tom, against harassment.
If I see kids with their pants underneath their behind, you know what? I don't like it, but you know what? So be it. They're not doing anything to me. But if somebody's sticking their dogs,
you can't get around that. You cannot get around that. Local law enforcement and the district attorney has looked at this. No one has determined the law has been broken. Harassment is against the law.
Well, as we both know, Jimmy, in this threat to the United States, there have always been
that the law has been broken, so there's nothing for a local government to do. So she just got to deal with it. Just because you don't like what this man is doing, if he has a right to do it, you just have to live with it as a free society. That's the price we pay. Everybody cannot go through life not being offended. We don't live in that kind of world. Well, unless you're in a communist country, and maybe you can, because they would lock you up over stuff like this if you have enough influence and power. Tom, we're almost at
it is time to go to our next music, because we are
go to our next song. So we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one.
Yeah, we'll agree to disagree on this one. That's fine.
Okay. So yeah, because this is not even a news story to me, but let's do our second song. Here we go. Artist of record, title of the song, the first time stamp to come in. Here we go.
All righty.
That the world always calls you here. Oh, you going out the world backwards like you did when you first come here. Yeah. Keep talking about the president, won't stop our pollution. No. Put your hand over your mouth when you call that a helpless solution. Yeah. Well, you cut around women broken, don't even know their name. No. And you're dumb enough to think that'll make you a big old man.
All right, Jimmy, it looks like the first person to get, well, we have a split here. So Marion Square is on the board first. She was the first person to get the name of the song correct, Respect Yourself. And then
what's the time say?
It says she was first. She was the first one actually to put it up there, 2054, 59.
Well, I mean, somebody may come in afterwards with a lower timestamp, though. It just depends on your speed of your connection.
No, there's no one with a lower timestamp than hers.
Okay.
So she's actually the earliest one. And
you said she got the name of the song right?
And I guess what we'll do is they technically, if we go by the Jimmy Stewart rules, I don't know that we've gotten because I don't know that we've gotten anybody if we go by the Jimmy Stewart rules.
Nobody got the artist of record?
Well, that depends. That depends.
It's either yes or no. I don't.
Well,
We don't give partial credit now.
Well, this is the deal, Jimmy. I'm waiting for someone to get it exactly correct. Somebody's gotten it correct, but I guess I'll go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt because I'm still waiting to see if we can get somebody who gets it exactly correct. And I'm talking about the artist.
Nobody gets it exactly correct, then it's wrong. So no partial credit.
All right, Jimmy.
I mean, unless you got someone who got it mostly right, but we haven't given partial credit in the past.
But you know, that depends on how persnickety Jimmy is.
Well, you are the judge, Tom, so you can make the judge decision. So, but if it was me, I wouldn't give partial credit because then you get into the nuance of I got part of it right, you got part of it right.
This is the deal. This is the deal. Now that the 20 seconds have passed, the group of record is the staple singers because it's multiple of them, and I've been getting a staple singer. I ain't never heard of a staple singer.
Oh, somebody missed by just one letter?
Well, yeah, they say the staple singer is not the name of the group. It's the staple singer.
That's true. Hard. I'm sorry that we have to be so hard.
That's Jimmy Stewart, because Jimmy Stewart was being very specific. You know, when I was trying to give people a little leeway.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, so no one
called the staple singer.
So we'll award 1 point. Unfortunately, we do need to be sticklers on this. You need to get the name exactly right because we don't want to get into judging partial answers and having to judge who's more partially right than the next person. So rather than get into that,
I got staple singer. I got Staples singer, but no one said staple singers.
Okay. All right. Well, we awarded 1 point. So did Marion get all 3 points tonight?
Yes, you did.
The hat trick.
The hat trick.
It's a hockey term.
Well.
If you score 3 goals or 3 assists in a game, or a combination thereof.
Okay, gotcha. All right, good deal, Jimmy. Well,
okay. Somebody says keep reading that they think they got it right.
Say what now? Mine was a typo. I understand, but hey, I was trying to fight for y'all, but Jimmy said it's got to be exactly right, and we get it was a typo. So, all right, Jimmy. Well, it is right at the top of the hour. We got about 1 minute left, so we're going to have to overflow into next week's show.
Did we cover all our stories, outstanding stories, or did we leave something on the plate?
Well, we had something on the plate, but we definitely ain't got time to get to it. So we'll just have to work on it next week.
We'll cover it next week, make it the first story.
All right. That'll work, Jimmy. And so we want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. If you have not, make sure that you like this show, share with other folks, and subscribe if you have not done so. And we will see you next Wednesday night, Jimmy, because if it is Wednesday night.
Certainly Black Men Speak. So, Tom, hang on after the show for a second.
Sure.
Let's exit, and I'll talk to you after the show.